Sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. I'm a sick puppy, hoes wanna touch me, it's written on their forehead.
You can't trust me.
Sleeping in my bunk when I smelled the skunk. I looked out my curtain, it was Scatterman's junk. Pounding on a groupie hoe, yes that's his duty though. Even had a thumb and 2 fingers in her booty hole. Just another day on the tour bus.
Yeah, I like to party, I like to party.
Ecstasy in piles like peppermints at Applebee's. If you take the wrapper off, you'll probably catch disease. Digging in the sleaze in the hot tub at the Nova. Different time, different page, she's a whore, 'twas the rage. Many a hookers come by with their holes out, desiring to be plugged, so many pulled their poles out. Typically high mileage, the type to need an oil change. Cut said she stunk, but he recommended brains. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. I shoot for the kill and aim for the spill. Digging in the guts is my kind of thrill. I cut a hole in the throat from ear to ear. Rip the trachea out the neck, you know my love is sincere. Precisely slice an incision down the rib cage, perfectly centered like the pattern of a 12 gauge. Get to the junkets,
Ring around the rosy,
cut it off and toss it, but
watch the bladder closely.
you don't want to get his urine on your meat. Lift him by the head and dump his organs in the street. Right about now you might hear somebody come and throw his carcass on your back, cause it's time to start running. You can butcher the meat in the bathtub if you want to. Rinse with water, marinate with vinegar, you ought to. Fillet the steaks, roll with flour in the kitchen. Whether you bake him or you fry him, he tastes like chicken. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. Sit down and listen to these stories from a sicko, 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 sicko. A maniacal mind at the time was fecophiliac, throwing dookie splat.
Sicko.
Yup, and a maniac. We went to Hollywood, had some business with the strangers. Pool at the days and turned brown from a dangler. Deuces in the urinals, smuggling through the terminals. Micey Killa C, breaking bread with the criminals. Like the kind of money that comes packed into duffel bags. I only need the riches, homes, leave all the rags. Bandanas and paisleys, surround but never faze me. I don't care what you bang, boy, your colors can't change me. I live the type of life to make a non-vet shudder. This is spiritual warfare, it begins in the gutter. Thanks for tuning in to these stories from a sicko. I'ma keep it real with y'all, I've done so from the get-go. If I spit it, then I lived it, and maybe haven't quit it. Father, understand if you never do forgive it. Sit down and listen.